the initial fire on someone's property I tested.
15 minutes away from there. Where's that?
Just came
like
in.
a New Springfield. Yeah.
Wow. Look at the flume and smoke.
This lady here, that's Marilyn Leisner, the last mayor of Times Beach, Missouri, a small resort town along the Merrimack River just outside of St. Louis that the government bought out after some jackass contracted with the chemical companies to dispose of their waste. He mixed that chemical waste with oil and sprayed the roads of Times Beach with its mixture. Scott Smith, the guy in the blue shirt, has been to over 60 chemical contamination disasters, and he's brought Marilyn here to talk with some of the people of East Palestine, Ohio, the site of one of the nastiest, most toxic chemical spills in history. One of its citizen whistleblowers gave me a 1,400-page EPA memo with a list of chemicals that were on board the train when it derailed, that the EPA is now removed from their website. According to their own documents, the EPA knew about multiple sites of chemical contamination for almost 10 years prior to warning the residents of Times Beach. If there's anyone who knows the EPA playbook, it's the guy in the blue shirt.
Put the dog up so he doesn't eat up these nice people.
Joe and his wife have been ill, and we know things are in their water. I took their soil samples the other day. So instead of taking a biopsy of their lungs or anybody else feeling ill, the next best thing is a furnace filter to see what they've been exposed to so they can go to a toxicologist, medical doctor. And this is a furnace filter, and there's been no one else doing any furnace filter testing. And you're going to see me swabbing this twice. One swab is for SVOCs, and the other swab will be sent to the lab for dioxins. This is an official protocol to sample what's on the surface. Needless to say, the EPA and Mark Durner are on tape saying, all my data is useless on this, and they're pushing back very hard. And we know why. I am looking forward to the EPA because they're tracking people around town. They're looking at Facebook, and the railroad is hiring people to do it. And the EPA is going around, well, you smoked cigarettes in college. Well, you drank too much. It's your lifestyle. So I want to see them come after a pastor and blame your lifestyle. Good luck to them. Good luck to them.
So it might sound like the guy in the blue shirt has been to a few too many chemical disaster areas, that the fumes may have gotten to him.
He's been on the ground at every single major contamination, spill, explosion, accident.
Port of Stockton, California, Laurel, Montana, Santa Monica, California, and Eden, North Carolina, Aruba, Guanas Canal, Charleston, West Virginia.
Just as he's been a fount of knowledge for Select, he's a fount of knowledge for a senator.
The EPA and the railroad following people, monitoring their social media. The Government Accountability Project obtained emails from the EPA that make it not seem so crazy. Why are over 52 EPA agents being copied on the whereabouts of Scott Smith's location and his actions? Why is a woman named Barbara McCree, who, besides having an EPA.gov email address, is basically a ghost, asking for Scott's personal address and information? Why the obsession from a major government agency on a civilian collecting soil and air samples for residents who are being denied help? Why do they need to know his address? Why do they need to know where he's at all times when he's in East Palestine? Why are they following him?
Asking you if you're taking samples.
Have you taken samples?
I can't answer any of your questions.
You can't. Well, then why should I answer any of your questions?
We need to know who's coming and going on the site.
But this is private property.
Who's back here?
You're standing on private property right now.
Everything that I've read in the newspapers and everything I've seen with the health effects of these residents, this is not something that was nothing to see here type event. Scott came in and he countered that narrative that the EPA and Norfolk Southern has been putting forth for so long, that the chemicals of concern are all within acceptable limits, that it's safe to live in the environment, it's safe to go back home. And this is not what residents are experiencing, and this is not what Scott has found out through his results.
Scott is doing testing that people can't get otherwise, and the EPA can judge his results and they can judge his methods, and it's the only way you get to any kind of transparency. Whether people agree with what he's doing or not, you need to have things to move the needle on what matters to the people in East Palestine.
I have Michael Regan here in my home, the head of the US EPA. After I brought that to light, that the EPA agent wasn't honest about the testing, Well, he acknowledged the chemical gas smell recorded.
Okay.
Sherrod Brown and Bill Johnson, the senator and congressman, they acknowledged the chemical gas smell in my home too.
Did they test the filter the way Scott did?
No,
Nobody
I
did.
didn't even know you could test until Scott did.
Please pass on. We are here in good faith. I'm on the record in the media inviting the EPA and the railroad, specifically Will Burgess that signed the lease, to join me anytime for the benefit of the community to take samples. We would love anybody to join us.
What does it mean to have this guy here doing this for you?
Listen, this man is, I'm going to call him a savior for this community, because we cannot get any testing done besides this man. Universities has came in and did a little bit of testing, but we still ain't even got the results back from the universities yet.
You're getting his back, but you're not getting the universities?
Yes, we're not getting the universities back. The EPA refuses to test our soil or our air in our homes. Refuses. We are not, and he'll say it right to your face, we are not testing your soil or your air.
So the key is the surfaces.
Okay.
It's like the air you breathe, going into the atmosphere. And at a murder scene, I'm basically testing for the blood that is sticking to the wall. This is like a murder scene.
Tell me about the chemical pneumonia that you experienced in your nosebleeds recently.
Yeah, I've been in the creek, which is why I say the third event is excavation could be worse than the first two, where I went back and I had chemical pneumonia. And then I came back the following week and did a lot of soil sampling, and had nosebleeds that couldn't be stopped.
Scott Smith, he might not be an engineer, but he does have degrees from Baylor and Harvard, and he does have like 25 patents. He's the only guy smart enough to be out there testing the topsoil and looking in people's furnace. This environmental Avenger thing doesn't work out. He's always got a career in HVAC.
The EPA might question Scott's methods, but I have questions about theirs. Like, why were air monitoring systems set up during the burn, grouped and placed in large part upwind from the plume? Why do they continuously deny that they were, in fact, involved in the decision to light the fire, after being presented with evidence that the tanks were cooling and at no risk of explosion? It's hard to believe anything that Unified Command says, while they hold the hands of the railroad and seem to be intentionally and strategically determined to produce non-detects.
You saw Dr. Rick Chai last night at the town hall and all that with the reporter Rich McHugh from News Nation. Those are water samples from all that.
What's the difference between the top shelf and the bottom shelf?
Top shelf are furnace filter, and the middle shelf are soil samples, and the bottom is water.
So when you get those samples back, do you report them to the resident?
Yep, I go right to the residents.
Okay.
To put this into context, a lot of these samplers, that they take all these samples in teams of 4 to 6 people, and I'm just one person. And the whole process is I methodically set up the chain of custody, refrigerate everything, methodically set this up. Sometimes this will take 2 to 3 hours to write this up properly, go to FedEx.
You don't charge these people anything for this, do you?
No.
How much have you spent so far in?
Close to $100,000.
In testing?
Close to $100,000. And I had commitments from people to help with no conditions, and they all reneged on me. Lawyers have now reached out to test properly, so I've told the lawyers I'm not in the business of enriching lawyers. The community I do for free. So I'm just hoping to recover my out-of-pocket costs, because I came here for 2 trips. As you heard me tell the story, Ken Beresford, who was on the second trip, said, you got to come back, and he passed away recently, and he said, you got to come back, and you're giving me hope for humanity. And I said the same thing to him, so I'm in all the way now. And so if people around me make promises and renege and don't want to step up and help, I have no choice but to move forward. I'll figure it out.
So what happens now? Historically speaking, attorneys swoop in and sign up residents into some large class action lawsuit. They then reach a settlement, of which the attorneys take a gigantic portion of. The offender carries on with unchecked business as usual, while the citizens are left with crumbs and lingering questions about their health and their future. East Palestine and its residents have a chance to be different. They are engaged in ways that give me hope. They are recording and documenting interactions on their phones and showing up to meetings to hold politicians and agencies accountable. Dr. Rick Chai, the chiropractor who wrote prescriptions for blood work when residents were denied by their healthcare providers, and the same guy who still walks the creeks exposing lingering contamination, they have allies in their fight to bring meaningful change. They have the information, the technology, the community of their friends and family, and they also have the guy in the blue shirt.